Greetings, everybody, and I am Lady Luna. Welcome to my castle. For those who don't know me, I have a very big hyperfixation about Dracula. I have read the books, I have watched films, and I've also watched TV shows that have been produced. Then again, to call myself a Dracula fan would be an insult to every other Dracula fan, because I barely know anything bar the basics that most Dracula fans should know. But quickly moving on, Dracula 1931. This is a film I have never ever watched bar now, and I think I should have watched it ages ago and just didn't, and I don't know why. But as it's Looney's Loveless Legendaries, this is going to be important to show. Now before I go any further, I just want to say, go hit that subscribe button and like. Thank you. Now, as always, I'm going to do a quick plot summary just to describe this because most of you probably haven't seen this film. This will be quite quick though because the plot summary for Dracula is very, very thin. There is not much going on in this film for you to really need to know. The film opens where a wagon is being brought into Transylvania carrying Renfield, a real estate agent who is going to see Count Dracula in his castle. Renfield isn't aware of any danger at all, even though everybody in the village warns him. Renfield is given a crucifix by an old woman, and then is taken off to go see Dracula in his castle as it turns midnight. Dracula meets Renfield, and then goes and brings him to his castle. A quick point to make is that the wagon driver is Dracula, and Renfield does not know this. Renfield is brought into Dracula's castle, and Dracula has this big opening entrance where he basically just has this menacing stare towards Renfield, finally greeting him once they got to Renfield's room. Skipping along slightly, Dracula and Renfield introduce each other, and Dracula basically gets these papers that are to buy his new estate that is in London. The estate we eventually found out to be Carfax Abbey that is in England. However, an issue occurs during the deal where Renfield cuts his finger on the papers, causing him to bleed. Dracula, enticed by the blood, goes to lick or eat Renfield. It's not really that clear, and I'm not sure what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to lick it. Dracula was scared off, however, by Renfield's crucifix, which was given by the old woman, leading him to back away, and Renfield just thought he was scared of blood. The transaction goes a bit further, and then Renfield is basically drugged by what is kind of like a hypno thing. It's kind of like a power that Dracula has, which you can make them into your slave, which is what Renfield basically becomes when the film opens again on the boat, which Dracula is now on. The boat crashes in Whitby, which I'm actually going to soon, so I'm gonna probably do a little news update of how everything, like what everything I did and stuff like that, but I just wanted to tell you that because Dracula, Whitby, it's awesome. But yeah, Dracula's boat crashes in Whitby. They do not stay in Whitby, they go straight to London, which I'm kind of disappointed about. I wanted them to stay in Whitby a bit longer, but moving forward. Both Dracula and Renfield end up in London. However, Renfield ends up in a mental institution as he's kind of mental after he gets off the boat, and it's a very big spin. It's really strange. Dracula does not waste time in London. He goes and kills a woman, and then goes straight to a theatre to go meet the new main characters. These characters being Dr. Seward, his wife, their daughter Mina, who is the love interest pretty much, and John Harker, who is Mina's escort. Dracula pretty much has a obsession with Mina and ends up going to her bedroom during the night and just staring at her. It was kind of weird. Moving forward a bit, they introduce Van Helsing. If you don't know who that is, he's a vampire hunter pretty much. Helsing basically identifies that they're dealing with the undead, and Dr. Seward and Helsing basically go and speak to Renfield to learn more about Dracula. A lot goes on during the next couple scenes where Renfield is asking to be sent away and starts like howling at the wolves and stuff, and then he tells Van Helsing about what the howl means. It's really confusing and I'm not actually sure what happens. I'm going to look at it a bit more in depth, maybe in a different video, because some of the symbolism in this film is really, really confusing. During the night, Dracula basically goes to Renfield's cell and gives him some commands, and then he goes to Mina's room and bites her neck. Van Helsing the next day pretty much examines the bite marks, and then the Count interrupts him, and he basically lets them know that the scientist, well, Helsing, is gonna die. I'm going to skip through the next part because I recorded it and then it didn't really go too well, and it's just because it's very monotone and really boring to talk about. Van Helsing basically prepares to hunt Dracula and find out where his lair is. Meanwhile, Mina and Harker, who are sat on a balcony, Mina basically tries to bite Harker because I think she's like part vampire now, but Van Helsing stops her with a crucifix. I really don't know where he got it from, he just had it. Mina is then taken to Dracula's lair, and Renfield also finds the lair as he's escaped again. Harker and Helsing also find where the lair is and end up trying to break in. Meanwhile, this is happening, Dracula kills Renfield. I think he snaps his neck. I'll talk about it more in a later because there's an important thing I need to talk about. Helsa and Harking break into Dracula's lair and find that Dracula is asleep in a coffin while Mina is wandering, basically trying to protect Dracula. This leads to the final scene where Van Helsing pounds a piece of wood into the Count's heart, killing him, and setting Mina free from the vampire's, curse pretty much. The credits roll and then the film ends. Now, for a Dracula movie that I have only seen once, this was very, very, very bad. I'm not gonna lie. And I know why it's bad, and I'm gonna talk about it now in a little bit of depth. But first, I'm just gonna give my general opinion of what I thought quickly, because I don't mind the film, but I think there's a thing that limited it. So just a quick few things I liked in the film. There wasn't a lot of music in the film. So when you're in Dracula's castle and they're all walking around, there was an ominous silence to it all, and I thought this gave it a lot of atmosphere because there was just a sound or two that were playing, like a water drop or a bat in the background, something like that, and it was really interesting to just look at the scene. As well as that, all the background props and all the sets, they were all nicely designed. There was a few, bats and stuff which I didn't like the design look of, because they kind of looked, fabric-y and papery. But I don't mind it, because it's 1931, and to be honest, from what they did with the budget, which I will speak about in a minute, was very, very impressive. I saw King Kong, which was 2 years after this film, and to be honest, I did not like the quality that King Kong's acting had. I think that Dracula had a lot better acting, and I know they're completely two different films. One was trying to be more funny but also dramatic at the same time, where Dracula was trying to be more scary rather than being comedic, but it still had comedic roles to it, even if they were very minute. And I think the minute roles that they had, which didn't really fit in the role, they were trying to be funny. There's a scene in the courtyard and it just didn't work very well, and I think it was very boring to have it in because it just didn't work. Now, for the next section that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the Hays Code a little bit and how it kind of ruined Dracula for what is the main part of it. So for those who don't know what the Hays Code is, it's a production code which was for the movie industry and the TV show industry, which was a self-censorship of content, which meant that swears and graphic violence like fighting and shooting weren't allowed for anything. You weren't allowed to show any of it, and if you did, then the film wouldn't be published and it'd just be automatically removed completely. The best way to show the usage of the Hays Code in Dracula is Dracula's death as a whole, which is completely off screen and all you hear is a scream. And I think it's really important to note that for the Hays Code, it ruins this film completely, because for those who've say the new Nosferatu film, and I think the thing that Nosferatu did good was showing the lust of Dracula and how he can kind of manipulate people's feelings into getting what he wanted. And with the Hays Code for Dracula 1931, it ruins it a lot because you're not allowed things like kissing really deep kissing, but stuff like that, and nudity wasn't allowed. And it ruins a lot of the book because Dracula was like a lustful being, and it's how he got what he wanted, and it's also how he got a lot of women, well, to eat. And with that also, there's a lot about the books that aren't in Dracula 1931, and I think that's due to the limitation because of the Hays Code. So in Dracula, he dies by slicing his neck and then getting like his heart impaled, which still kind of happens, and I see why they didn't do the gruesome kind of ending to it, because especially it was cut off screen because of the Hays Code. But Dracula getting his heart impaled is kind of like an iconic scene now. I don't really see people getting his neck slit very much, and I think that kind of ruins it, because it's awesome to see his neck getting slit as well as his heart, because he's a powerful being and he should die in a powerful way, to say. And getting your heart impaled is more human. And I think if you have a less human death for him, it like him dying in the sun and getting like frozen stone, I think that's kind of important to show, because it just shows that he's not human and he's a monster. And if you show that he's a monster, then people are going to have less sympathy with him. But it's difficult to say, because obviously the Hays Code would have ruined a lot of it, and what could have been didn't be. I may do a video for the book and the film, like kind of just saying what's the differences and what's similar, because I have read the book and I do enjoy the book. I just think the issue is it's like me making a video, it takes me forever to actually read. Now we have my favorite bit, the actors and actresses. Now, it's very important to notice the things I am about to say might seem a little rude, but it is very true. Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frere, who play Count Dracula and Renfield, I fucking love them. They are the best people, and especially Bela is very, very talented for what he does in the film. I'm not joking, I've recorded the next part about 10 times, and it's just not going to go well anytime I say it. Helen Chandler, who plays Mina Harker, I do not really care for their role. I think it's very monotone and she doesn't have much to her. And I think that's why Bela is seen in a better light, because Bella's acting is good. And I think that's because he actually got like roles and he got to choose how he spoke and how he did the role. Whereas Helen just got told, do this, do that, and didn't get much freedom to it. And that is probably just because, well, women didn't really have many rights at that point, especially in the acting career. They were allowed to act, but they had to do it to the director's wish, and that was it. And I think that's where the issue comes in, where most of the women in these types of films are very just the same person. There are a few like things that kind of like show they're different, but mainly they're just this one person or nothing. I meant all of that in the nicest way, by the way. I don't mean to offend anybody, because I do not want to get in trouble. And it was literally just that women in the acting career at that time had a lot of troubles and they did not get much freedom. And actually to get in the acting business was hard enough already, not less stay in it. Moving on quickly. If I was to choose how to fix this film, there are a few things that I would have done. I'm going to stick by the rules that the Hays Code is still in it, and it's going to be just kind of slightly changed. If I was the director, then I would probably organize Mina's character to have a bit more depth, and probably show more of Dracula's lust if possible, because I need to look more in depth to the Hays Code, but a lot of the stuff that I could have changed, I don't know if I can change. Because obviously the director who did it did a perfect job and well done completely. But I don't know what the restrictions are and what you could have done better, because it's obviously a difficult time to say what you could have changed and what you couldn't. Finally, I just want to say, this was a difficult review just for a few things, mainly the research aspect of it all. But I enjoy doing it, and it's really fun to see that I'm actually getting back into the YouTube thing. And I hope that I do it again, especially with Dracula. I might do a series on Dracula just to have a comparison of a few films across from the years. Probably won't go back to any of the Bela films, because he's always been kind of the same Dracula throughout the ones I've seen. And I want to go through a different load of Draculas, because there's plenty to see. I think for me, it's Christopher Lee and Gary Oldman that I really want to see, because I think their versions of Dracula kind of like stand out to me at least a lot. If I had to rank this film, it'd probably be like a 3 out of 5 stars because it wasn't great. But for now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and if you got this far, please like and subscribe, as I said in the beginning. But please tell me what you thought of Dracula if you've watched it, and I would like to hear your opinions. I could have gone a bit more in depth in this video, but for now I just wanted to kind of like get back into doing the YouTube grind, and I hope maybe in the next few reviews that I'm going to do, especially over the monsters, are just a bit better, because I'm trying to improve, and I've spoken louder in this one, at least in my opinion, just so I get my point off and maybe sound a bit more lively. But over the course of it, I hope that you actually enjoyed the video, and it's getting better for me. I think I'm going to try doing this every so often to try get better at the YouTube thing. But 16 minutes for me, or whatever it gets up to, is good enough for me, and I hope this video is actually worth my time and effort, because Dracula was fun, and I enjoyed Dracula. But I'm gonna say it now, it was not a good film, to be honest, and I have seen a lot better monster films, and I think I enjoyed King Kong more than I did this, but that's just my opinion, I guess. But thank you for watching, and good night.